This segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. All right, welcome back to Good Vibes. I'm Martin Falls. Debbie Cox-Danova is right there in the house. How you doing, Debbie?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I love the topic today because don't you go through life and everybody always wants to feel connected, but creating real connection is the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, it's a very strange topic to talk about because it feels like it's something that we should automatically know how to do. We're social creatures after all. And the reality is, yes, everybody wants to feel connected. And when you don't feel connected, you can meet every other measure of success and it comes out feeling very unfulfilled. Now, what we have going on right now is different from every other time in history, really, because what we have is that our brains are very efficient organs. And so what happens is that when your brain is not being used or utilized in all the ways that it was designed to use, you get this atrophy that happens. So for especially a lot of the younger generation, because we see a lot of addiction to the phones, a lot of screens, a lot of connection, like digital connection replacing real life connection. And the problem with that is that if you look at texting, for example, texting is words, right, as communication. But we've talked about before, at best, words account for maybe 10 to 25% of the way that we actually communicate. We're actually picking up on quite a bit of cues as we're talking to each other. There's a lot of tonality and body language and all kinds of other things. So if you have, for example, a young person who is primarily communicating via text and replacing what you and I had quite naturally when we were younger, which is face-to-face contact, you're kind of joking around, all of that.
Right.
Then what you start to have is this atrophy of the part of the brain that is responsible for picking up, for example, on approval cues. So you're seeing a big rise right now in social anxiety because a lot of people are spending too much time isolated, connecting through their digitals, and their brain is actually deconditioning for all the ways that it needs to pick up on the cues that say, okay, everything is fine. So now you have a lot of people coming to social situations feeling like, oh my gosh, they don't like me. I shouldn't be here. And sort of pulling into themselves, even though, again, if you look objectively, nobody's really rejecting them.
They don't have a benchmark.
Right. So it's like we're literally seeing people deconditioned for that. So the first thing to know is that it is extremely important that you prioritize real connection. There are so many different ways that we need oxytocin to flow in order for us to actually feel, bonding. So that's touching, like hugging. We need to be able to pick up on those social cues and actually tell ourselves, reassure ourselves, okay, this person actually really does like me, right? So that's part of it. But another big part of it is that we're expressing, or our relationships are a reflection of the relationship we have to ourselves. So a lot of us have been taught that in order for us to actually seek and gain social approval, that we need to actually cut off parts of ourselves that are that we disapprove of, right? So if I have that experience about myself, if I feel like, I'm gonna have to tuck all these parts in order for myself to be accepted in this group, then what I'm likely to do is show up in these groups with a mask on. And this is what a lot of people are doing. They may be surrounded by friends, lots of social friends. They've learned this specific mask gets me approval. So they wear the mask in order to be around their friends. And what they learn is that I do get approval when I wear the mask. Now, you would think that raises confidence, and to a degree it does. It raises confidence in the mask. It raises confidence that the mask is going to gain approval. But if you think about what that means underneath it all, is like if they saw these bits, though, if they saw these vulnerabilities, if they saw this about me, or if they knew this about me, then in all likelihood, I would get rejected. And rejection is a very vulnerable experience. Now, if I'm always wearing a mask, right? If I wear a Debbie mask everywhere I go, and I know that everybody has related to the mask and they've approved of it, it's less risky for them to reject the mask because that's not really me. But if I go and I actually tell you about myself, if I drop the mask and I stand in authenticity, if you reject me, what you're actually rejecting is the true me. So this is not something that's easy for a lot of people. It takes courage. But we've already talked about the multitude of research that shows that when you drop the pretense and you stand in your authenticity and you go, you know what? I'm actually not doing well. I'm actually having a really hard time at this or that. That it gives other people permission to drop theirs as well. And then you get something that we call empathic resonance. Now, empathic resonance is the primary foundation for attraction in relationships. So there's a really interesting study where they had people go on a date on a stone bridge and then people go on a date on a rickety bridge. Which one do you think inspired more attraction?
The rickety bridge.
Why would you think that?
Because it's not as steady and it's more challenging.
Okay. And then what about that would cause attraction?
You need the other person to get across.
Okay. So there's a bonding aspect to it. Now, what they found was that, yes, the people who went on the date on the rickety bridge actually showed more attraction because of something called empathic resonance, because it was scarier. So they were sharing a scary experience. Now, what we've been shown is that there is attraction when you have a shared experience. You both watch a scary movie and you're both scared, or you're both on a rickety bridge and you're scared, or you're having a blast.
It's the best movie to go to on a first date.
Yes, right? So you're kind of like leaning in. But the main thing about it is that you're sharing the experience. When two people share the same experience, so you might not have great conversation, but you love the same kind of movie. And when you watch the same kind of movie, you're like in the same zone. That's empathic resonance. And that is a foundation for attraction. So a little tip for those who are still in the dating world is to like actually find a place or a date where you can actually share an experience together, both of you.
Or skydive together.
Or skydiving.
With the same parachute.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Bonding. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go away. This segment was brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. All right, welcome back. We are talking with Debbie Cox-DeNova. It's Good Vibes. We're talking about creating real connections. Something I noticed last week, they had a festival downtown, and I saw some friends' sons. Both of them had just broken up. And I said, well, how you handling that? Doing all right. Now, when we were younger and broke up, we were devastated because there was a connection.
Yes.
It made me think when you were talking a while ago, did they not feel that connection because they text each other all the time and really maybe don't hold hands and do things we used to do? Or it's sort of making me think.
Yeah, it's a combination of all those things because dating has really changed. You know, the experts are seeing that when people go on dates now, it's more of an interview process. So it's not that organic experience of connection that we used to have before where there was like the butterflies and the spontaneity. It's like we're kind of pre-planning things out and then it's like, okay, do you meet my expectations? And expectations is a really big thing around people because when you have strong expectations around people, first of all, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. We already know that, right? You're also squeezing out presence and spontaneity. And spontaneity is really, especially when you're talking about romantic relationships, but in any kind of relationships, spontaneity is actually where that different kind of emotion emerges. So we see people who, over the long haul, couples who last the test of time, for example, who have a really, exciting sex life together, or, they have excitement together. They find a way to elicit new emotions within the context of the relationship. Because what happens whenever you, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, Back to the Future, no doubt.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Okay, so you first time you watched Back to the Future, what was that like for you?
Electric. Because I always wanted to go back into those eras.
Yes. Okay. So, but then you watch it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and I know it's still good because it's your favorite. But is it the same as that first time?
It's not, but I've watched it about 50 times. And
yes.
I still get that little twinge.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So you love it, right? But it's like what happens over time with predictability is that the same original emotions start to be dulled out. So if we can strategically create new emotions within the relationship with spontaneity, that actually helps to keep the kind of spark alive. Okay. The other part to remember when you're connecting with other people is really become good at frames. We've talked about frames before. If you can think about a house, every time you look through a window, you got a different perspective, right? Like same house, but you look through one window and you see one perspective. You look through another window and you see another perspective.
Right.
If you can get really good at frames, not only understanding other people's frames, but your own, like knowing where your own biases are, your own strengths, your own weaknesses, understanding where your selective focus actually lands. So remember, your reticular activating system is the part of your brain that is helping you to selectively focus. So start to notice when I walk into a room, what is my typical default notice? You know what I mean? Like, am I noticing like, oh gosh, there's a lot of people here. Am I complaining or am I, and so once you start to learn your own, that's key one. But then learning others people's, because everybody is basically, when you walk into a conversation, in kind of what's been called a frame battle. Okay. Now, it's not necessarily contentious, but basically each person's coming with their own frames, and we're trying to find the relatability, right? We're trying to find where we connect. So what you need to remember is that frames are like glasses. And look, they're all out on the table. So I want you to imagine you're going to a movie, right? You're walking into the movie theater. As someone's walking out of the movie theater, you overhear them say to their friend, what a waste of 2 hours. All of that to build up to that ridiculous ending. That's the worst ending I've ever seen. Now, you go in to watch the movie. What are you watching the movie? Like, how are you watching that movie, right?
I'm going to be disappointed at the end.
Yes, you're already set up to expect. You've already borrowed their frames. Even when you like yank those glasses off of their face and put it on yours, you're actually looking for what they were talking about. Now, same movie. What if you walked in and you heard the same people coming out, but you heard one person say to the other, "That was the best movie I have seen all year. That was that ending nailed it." Now, what are you doing when you watch the movie?
Yeah.
Borrow the frames.
You could judge people like that too, but the same comments.
Yes. So one of the things you want to remember is you never want to agree with or step into or play into frames that are not benefiting you. So if someone's coming with their own specific frame, it's to understand it, not to judge it, but also to recognize that you got to protect your own kind of experience. The other thing is, and this comes from Charlie Houpert, is that we've all been told that whenever you find, when you're really interested in somebody, that's how you get them to like you. If I like you, you're going to like me, right? He says that that's true, but there's a layer first, because we all know people who are really interested in us, and we're like, okay, like that's enough of that, and you kind of move away, right?
Hello, Debbie.
Right. So remember these three things first before you start trying to is that you want to remember fun, trust, and respect. So the first part is that you want to actually create a fun experience. Like, you actually want to elevate. If they ask you how you're doing, don't just say good. You want to go to like, oh yeah, this is a fantastic day. Like you're so a little fun. Everybody's looking for some playfulness. So one of the things that Charlie Houpert loves to say is like, flirt with the world. Flirt with the world flirts back, right? And what are you doing when you're flirting? You're just being playful.
Yeah,
you're very playful, right? You understand that. So if you set levity, people are hungry for that. They kind of lean in. And then what you want to do is tell about yourself without overselling yourself, because then the trust is kind of like, okay, right? So,
you know what you need to do on a first date? To tell people, go roll one of your best friend's houses. And they go, are you 60-some years old? So what? Go roll the house anyway.
There you go. Playfulness, right?
Yeah, right.
And then you also obviously want to elicit some respect for yourself. So you want to make sure that...
Yeah, clean it up after.
Right. And then if you do all those three things, once you show that you actually like the other person, they're much more likely to like you back and want you in the world.
Great topic. All right. What's next week? Do we know yet?
I don't know yet.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll see you next week on Good Vibes. This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.